Imagine waking up one morning to find the sun has simply vanished. No dawn, no warmth, just endless, suffocating darkness. This nightmare became reality in ancient Japan when Amaterasu, the sun goddess herself, disappeared into a cave and refused to come out. But what could possibly drive the most powerful deity in the Japanese pantheon into hiding? The answer lies with her brother, Susanoo, the god of storms and chaos. Susanoo had always been jealous of his sister's beauty and power. While Amaterasu ruled the heavens with grace, bringing light and life to the world, Susanoo raged through the skies, bringing destruction wherever he went. One day, Susanoo's jealousy reached a breaking point. He decided to visit his sister in her sacred palace in the heavens. At first, Amaterasu welcomed him warmly, hoping to mend their relationship. But Susanoo had not come in peace. In a fit of rage, he began destroying everything in sight. He trampled her sacred rice fields, polluted her holy wells, and in the ultimate act of desecration, he threw a flayed horse through the roof of her weaving hall. Amaterasu was not just shocked by the destruction, but heartbroken by her brother's cruelty. In her grief and shame, she fled to a cave called Iwato and sealed herself inside with a massive boulder. The moment Amaterasu disappeared, the entire world plunged into darkness. Without the sun goddess, crops began to wither and die. Evil spirits, emboldened by the darkness, roamed freely across the land. The other gods watched in horror as the world began to collapse. They knew they had to act quickly, or all life would perish. But how do you convince a heartbroken goddess to forgive and return? The gods tried everything they could think of. They begged and pleaded outside the cave entrance. They offered gifts of precious jewels and silk. They even tried to physically move the boulder, but nothing worked. Amaterasu remained silent and hidden, consumed by her pain. That's when Ame no Uzume, the goddess of dawn and revelry, came up with a brilliant plan. If they couldn't draw Amaterasu out with pleas or gifts, perhaps they could trick her out with curiosity. Ame no Uzume instructed the gods to place a large bronze mirror directly across from the cave entrance. Then she began to dance. But this wasn't just any dance. Ame no Uzume danced with such wild abandon and humor that all the other gods began to laugh uproariously. Their laughter echoed through the mountains, growing louder and more joyful by the minute. Inside the cave, Amaterasu heard the celebration. How could the gods be laughing when the world was ending? What could possibly be so amusing during such a dark time? Unable to resist, she cracked open the cave entrance just a tiny bit and peeked outside. The first thing she saw was her own radiant reflection in the bronze mirror. For a moment, she forgot her sorrow, amazed by the beautiful goddess staring back at her. Who was this radiant being? The other gods, seeing their chance, quickly explained that they had found an even more beautiful goddess to replace her as ruler of the heavens. Intrigued and perhaps a little jealous herself, Amaterasu pushed the boulder aside, just enough to step out and get a better look. The moment she emerged, her divine radiance flooded the world once again. But before she could change her mind, Tajikarao, the god of strength, rolled the boulder permanently away from the cave. The other gods immediately surrounded Amaterasu with apologies and promises that Susanoo would be punished for his terrible behavior. Moved by their dedication and clever plan, Amaterasu agreed to return to her duties. As she took her place back in the heavens, light returned to the world. Crops began to grow again, evil spirits fled back to the shadows, and life resumed its natural rhythm. This myth explains why the Japanese have such deep reverence for Amaterasu to this day. The story teaches us about the power of forgiveness, the importance of community coming together in dark times, and the clever ways we can solve problems when direct approaches fail. Some scholars believe this myth was inspired by memories of a solar eclipse, when the sun literally disappeared from the sky and then returned to bring light back to the world. Today, festivals across Japan still celebrate the return of Amaterasu with dance, mirrors, and laughter, just like the gods used to lure her from the cave. The myth of Amaterasu reminds us that even in our darkest moments, light and joy can return if we're willing to step out of our caves and face the world again.